You want to go? Do you want to review yesterday's or just?
Yeah, so yesterday's fine.
Okay.
So we're in
Fine.
Sheviis test. Misha היו לו פר שביעיס שנפלו לו בירושה או שניתנו לו
Wait,
במתנה.
I'm sorry. You're doing test. So you're not doing yesterday's. The new ones from yesterday.
Those are the new
Last
ones
test
from
12.
yesterday.
This 12 was yesterday.
Yeah. Okay.
You want to do
So,
this or?
so this is yesterday's one. Test, no?
No, test 12 was yesterday. The new one.
Okay. Misha היו לו פרס שביעיס שנפלו לו בירושה or שניתנו לו במתנה. So somebody had Shemitah produce legitimately. Either it came to him by a Yerusha or it came to him as a gift. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, "Yinasnu le'ochlehen." Now he says that that you have to just give it out. According to Rabbi Eliezer, he's holding like the Beis Shammai view that he's not allowed to have gratitude to whoever gave him these things as a gift or to his father for leaving him as a Yerusha because you're only allowed to take Paris like Beis Shammai, you're only allowed to take Paris without acknowledging the owner. Okay, and therefore he must give it to he must just like give it out and have a suda for other people so that he's not the one who enjoys it. Now the Chachamim answer Rabbi Eliezer not according to their own opinion, but saying, Rabbi Eliezer, your opinion is inconsistent. Okay, why? They say, how could a person get a reward for this? He shouldn't be allowed to eat with them if you're saying that. And furthermore, he's giving it, he's getting the hana from these people of being acknowledged by them. Since you have a problem with acknowledging people for Shemitah produce, then he shouldn't be allowed to get any benefit, including just the fact that the people are grateful to him for making a nice suda for them. Okay, so rather let him sell it to other people. Okay, and what does he do with the money? Now he's had a benefit of that. And then he can give money to as tzedakah, I guess matan b'seiter, to other people. Okay, this is not their actual opinion. As I said before, they say that there's no problem with a person enjoying the Paris that he received. They're just arguing with Rabbi Eliezer because they're saying your opinion doesn't make sense. Since he can give it to other people, they'll be grateful to him. So you just sort of kick the can down the road, they're saying to him. And the money should be given out by Beis Din, and then they're not going to have any gratitude to him, and therefore he doesn't have the problem of having hana from these payros. I'm not sure Rabbi Eliezer's response to this, but he what is yeah. Yeah, I don't have an answer for why Rabbi Eliezer doesn't have a rejoinder to the Chachamim on this point. Anyway, let's move on. Now, the last sentence of this Mishnah is just making the point that we don't have to take Trumas and Masters from Shemitah produce. It doesn't exist because it's all hefker. However, if you take grain and you make a dough out of it, you still have to take challah from it. So challah is different from Trumas and Mastros because challah is something that anyone has to make on any dough, even if the dough came from hefker, and therefore it's the laws of challah are in full effect even on Shemitah produce. So even though he's going to have to take it and burn it, and Shemitah produce is not going, in a time when it's made with betumah, he's going to have to burn it. So, but even so, he has to take the challah and burn it, even though it's Shemitah produce, because there's just nothing else you can do with it. Okay. Shoni,
If my kids make cookies, is you know, is that dough considered dough that you have to take challah from it?
no, it's got a. That's not. That's a pastry. A pastry dough is not the same as a bread dough. Um, it's got to be. I mean, I think there are shittas that hold that you have to take challah of cookies and
Cake
anything
too.
that's got a thick batter. Well, instead of a that's generally the case. Is cake is made with a batter which is very thin, and so it rises and it's fluffy. And I think cake it doesn't have to take anything. But cookies, I think there are some shittas that if you bake, look, you have to bake a large quantity of them. There are various comments on this which I'm not really qualified to talk on.
Okay.
Okay. Sheviis mishametes es a milva. Now, so now the last parak over here talks about the aspect of Shemitah of cancelling loans. Okay. So Sheviis mishametes es a milva. It cancels loans. B'shtar below b'shtar, whether the loan was done verbally or written. Okay. Hakafas hachanos eina mishametes. And the credit at a store is not cancelled. Okay, so if somebody bought goods on credit and he hasn't paid them off, that doesn't get cancelled. That's just that's not called a loan. That's called a debt. It's just something, you bought something and you just haven't yet paid for it. Okay, but however, if the shopkeeper converted it into a loan, which means that now what's the difference is that if he changes it to something, okay, fine, you can now pay me by X date. Let's turn it into a loan just a second. Milva. He says, okay, so listen, you've racked up a bill here of 1,000 shekels. I'll go easy on you. Let me make it into, you only have to pay me back in 2 months' time. Okay, so now you suddenly turned it into a loan. Okay, and now it's got so when he's fixed a time for him to pay it back, that's basically the line that you cross when it's got as opposed to it's due now. You need to pay me as soon as you can, as opposed to, yeah, okay, pay me in 2 months' time. So now giving him the extra time also turns it into a loan, and therefore Shemitah would cancel it.
So I go into the store and I buy something today, and I said I don't have enough money on me. I'll pay you next week. I go into the store next week and I buy
And it's
stuff.
after us. Okay, so now we're gonna have this case right now.
Right, and
Rabbi
then
Yehuda Omer,
okay.
Harishon Mishamet. What does that mean? That this week he came in and spent and bought 100 shekels of stuff, and the following week he comes in and buys 150 shekels of stuff. Now that means the first 100, because I haven't paid you back, and furthermore I've taken more, says Rabbi Yehuda, is the first one has become a loan, and the second one now is what's on credit. So that's Rabbi Yehuda's shita, which is not held lahalacha. Is according to the Tanakama and the Chachamim, is it's just now that he owes 250, and this would not be mashamet until the storekeeper converts it into a loan. Okay, schar sachir.
If I buy something and I come in the following week, I say I don't really have enough money. He says, all right, so you pay me next week, the week after. Would that be considered a loan then, or it's still a debt?
Is it? I think if he says, listen, I want the money by 1st of December. Yeah, that's now considered a loan. He says, okay, so you can pay me back next week, fine, whatever. That's kind of just being nice and saying, okay, I'll give you a little bit of extra time, pay me back when you can. But when it's it's in, yeah, it's a very subtle point that
Do they need a
if he says, okay, pay me back next week, there isn't yet a day. I suppose unless you're saying that Friday is the day.
He doesn't specify a date. Pay me next week could be Sunday through Thursday.
Right, right. But basically, he's saying you can by Friday. So maybe that is a loan.
If
Don't
he
know.
if he says if he turns it into a loan, does he need to start then?
Well, we just said that the Sheviis doesn't annuls a loan whether it's with a star or without a star.
So okay, okay, all right.
Mhm. Okay. Schar Sachir eno meshamet. If you owe an employee, yeah, he finishes work on Rosh Hashanah and you don't manage to pay him in time, and he comes back after Rosh Hashanah and says, it's Shemitah, I don't have to pay you. No, 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 no. That's money owed. It's money owed. It's not a loan. That however, if the employee actually extends him credit and says, let me give you a loan, then yes, Shemitah does cancel it. Rabbi Yossi Omer kol malacha sheposekes b'shvius meshametes. If you have malacha that is not allowed to be continued in the Shemitah, so for example, field workers, he's not allowed he's not allowed to do that work anymore in the Shemitah. So therefore, his pay is immediately due.
Right.
Okay, and that he says is going to be meshamet because now it's made it's not because that's now considered like a loan. He says it automatically becomes like a loan because and Sheviis will cancel it. But if you have somebody who's like programmer, psychologist, doesn't he's allowed to do his work in Sheviis. So therefore, if he's got work that he's being paid for, then Shemitah doesn't cancel it because it's an ongoing work, and he's continuing to rack up the bill.
Okay.
Mishnah Beis Hashochet es a para v'chilka b'Rosh Hashanah. So now this is in the days of before we had a fixed calendar, and the month and Rosh Hashanah is going to be declared by Adam. So you're not sure if Elul is going to be 29 or 30 days.
Right.
Okay, so of course on the 30th after the 29th of Elul is the last day when you know that it's Elul. So then we got to keep Rosh Hashanah out of Safek. So the butcher gets together with his buddies and says, okay, I'll shecht an animal on Rosh Hashanah for our Yom Tov meal, and basically everyone else can pay me back after the Yom Tov. Okay, so he shechts it, and they have this whole wonderful Suda for Rosh Hashanah. Hashochet is a par v'chilka b'Rosh Hashanah. Okay, im haya chodesh mubar, and then the Beis Din announces actually the Elul was mubar, and it was 30 days, and now Rosh Hashanah is the next day, which means that he racked up the debt on the 30th of Elul, and immediately Rosh Hashanah is meshamet.
Right,
so now his friends don't have to pay him back. Okay, im lava eno meshamet. Okay, ha'ones v'hamafate hamotzi shemra v'kol maaseh Beis Din. So all these things where the Beis Din has awarded damages, knas, the ones and mafate and motzi shemra are all knasim, 50, 50, and 100 shekels, or any other maaseh Beis Din where he's got a Beis Din judgment, einan mishamtin. So this is not called a loan that that gets cancelled by Shemitah. If he lends money as a with the security, so if he is not just taking a shtar, but if he takes security for his debt, or he hands his shtaros to Beis Din for collection.
Right.
So instead of just making it between him and the borrower, he actually gives it to Beis Din and says, I want you to collect for me. Einan meshamtin. So these are not cancelled by Shemitah. And that immediately takes us into our new Mishnah for today. Prosbol einan meshamet. This prosbol prevents the debts from being cancelled. This is one of the things that Hillel HaZaken instituted. The people were not lending money to each other. ועוברים על מה שכתוב בתורה, הישמע לך פן יהיה דבר עם לבבך בליעל. And the Torah says, be careful, don't let this unworthy thing come into your heart, that you're going to say, oh, the Shemitah is coming and I'm not going to get paid back. So now I need to, I don't want to lend money to the poor people. Hiskin Hillel the prosbul. So he instituted this thing of the prosbul so that firstly that the lenders will not have to worry about losing large amounts of money, and the borrowers will have, more importantly, that the borrowers will have people to borrow from, because the borrowers were not able to find people who would lend to them legitimately. So ideally, the best case would be the lender who's prepared to lend to the ani, and then just allow Shemitah to cancel it. That would be your best case. But if somebody doesn't have that, amount of financial flexibility that they can just say, okay, I'll be mishamet this loan to the poor person and be done with it, then he's got the option of a prosbul that will allow him to collect his loans after Shemitah. Okay, Zehu Gufa Shel Prosbul. This is what's written in it. Moser ani lachem ish ploni uploni hadayanim shebemakom ploni. So I hand over all of my I'm handing over all of my shtaros to you, people of the Beis Din of the city of Beit Shemesh, that I can collect all of my debts whenever I want to. The dayanim chosmim lamata or ha'edim, and then the dayanim or the witnesses sign it on the bottom. Okay. A lot of commentary about the technicalities in the Kahati, but we'll leave that for now. Prosbul hamukdam kasher v'ham uchar pasul. If you have a prosbul that's predated, so you wrote it on the beginning at the beginning of Elul, let's say, okay. Prosbul hamukdam kasher v'hamuchar pasul, and and one that is written if it's written with an earlier date than the actual time, that's okay, because all that he's done is he's weakened his koach, because any stars debts that he's got that come after that date are now not covered by the prosbul. So he's only disadvantaging himself by writing the date earlier. Conversely, if he makes it later, that's pasul, because he's disadvantaged the people who have taken loans from him after this date. Okay, pasul. Now the reverse is true of shtarei chov hamukdamim pasulim. If he puts the wrong date on a loan, that's pasul, because now he's advantaged himself with respect to other creditors, because when it comes to creditors collecting from a debtor, whoever's got the earliest lien has got the first dibs on the property, on the security. Okay, so any shtar that's earlier is so if you makes the loan document earlier dates, that's pasul. Ucharim kasherim, but if he makes the loan date later, okay, that's kasher, because now he's only weakened his own strength.
We had the date. We had in the Mishnah about the date, using when you put the date on there, it's supposed to be the date, something with the king and.
Right. So how to format the date is according to the year of which king, and
Right.
so. Right. Although now we generally just use the loazi date or just the date of whatever year it is in the Hebrew. Okay. Echad love mechamisha. One person can borrow from 5 people. Okay. Kosef prosbul lechol echad ve'echad. So each one of these 5 people has to write a separate prosbul in order to be able to claim his loans. Chamisha lovin me'echad. But if 5 people borrow money from one lender, and a kosef ela prosbul echad lecholam, he only needs to write 1 shtar of prosbul to collect all of his debts. Okay. Fine. Let's go backwards. Okay, Zayin Vav, I think.
Zayin Vav. This is actually yes, that's right. A row of cypress, ketaf, and lotus. The 7th year applies to them and to their proceeds. Reb Shimon says the 7th year does not apply to ketaf since it is not a fruit. If a new rose has been preserved in old oil, the rose may be taken. If old and new, it is subject to beer. Then, if new carobs have been preserved in old wine or in new or old and new, they are subject for beer. This is the general principle. If it imparts flavor, and there are two kinds, it is subject to beer when one of them are the same kind, whatever the quantity. The seventh year renders forbidden whatever the quantity, if of the same kind but of different kinds, it imparts flavor. They lay down an important principle regarding the seventh year. Whatever is designated as food for humans may not be used to make poultice for humans, or needless to say, for cattle. But whatever is not designated for food as foods for humans may be used to make poultice for humans, but not for cattle. And whatever is not designated as food for either humans or cattle, if one intended it as food for both humans and cattle, it is subject to the stringency which applies to humans, and to the stringency which applies to cattle. If he intended it for use as wood, then it is wood, as for instance, savory, hyssop, or thyme. Okay.
Lime, yeah, verb base.
I'm sorry. Was next one, right? Yeah, the base.
No, we don't need to do base.
All right. Okay. All right. I don't know if you wanted to continue.
Okay,
Okay.
kilayim verb base.
I tasted a new fruit yesterday. I had to make a sheki on sheket. No, Shekies. Shkes. I think it is. It's
Shkes.
called a low. Oh, gee, brand new fruit. You know what it is. I know you know what it is. A shesek.
A shesek, it's a loquat.
Loquat. I know what a kumquat is, but I never knew what a loquat is. I didn't know what. I had no
Oh
idea.
wow. No,
This
those are terrific. I love those.
They were great. It was so terrific. It was so
Mm.
sweet. You know. Wow. I think I've seen trees around here with those on them. I always thought they were kumquats, but all right. Climb. Um. Uh. No. Hey.
But I've got verb base over here.
Above base. Okay. That's what I have. Okay. Ah, it was so sweet. It was wonderful. If an aris projects from a terrace, Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov says, if it stands on the ground and gathers all of it, then it renders forbidden 4 cubits in the field. But if not, it only renders forbidden that which faces it. Reb Eliezer says, if one plants one on the ground and one is on the terrace, it is 10 tefachim high from the ground, and it does not combine with it. But if not, then it combines with it. If one trains a vine over part of a trellis frame, he may not bring seeds beneath the rest of it. If he bought, he did not render it forbidden. But if it is the new spread, it is forbidden. So too, if one trains over part of a non-fruit bearing tree. If one trains a vine over part of a fruit bearing tree, he may bring seeds beneath the rest. But if the new spread, he must turn them back. If one happened that your Rabbi Yeshua went to Rabbi Shmuel and Kephar Aziz, and he showed him a vine that was trained over part of a fig tree, he said to him, "May I bring seeds beneath the rest?" And he said, "It's permitted." And he took it up from there to the base Hamagania, and showed him a vine which had been trained over part of a branch in the trunk of a sycamore tree which had branches, many branches, and said to him, "Under this branch is forbidden, but the rest is permitted."
Yadayim
My son
aleph hey.
said, "Don't go to the store and ask for a kumquat. They won't know what you're talking about. It's a loquat, not a kumquat." I don't know.
Yeah, they both end in quat, but they're not
Right.
in the vaguely way related.
Okay. Dalid. If one rinse utensils in the water, or if he scrub measures with the water, it is invalid. However, if he rinsed it in the water, utensils that were already rinsed or that were new, the water is valid. Rabbi Yossi invalidates the water in the case of new utensils. The water into which the baker dips the rolls is invalid, but if he rinses his hands in it, it's valid. Everyone is qualified to pour water on hands, even a deaf mute, an imbecile, or a minor. And one may place a barrel between his knees and wash his hands from it. One may turn a barrel on its side and wash his hands from it, and an ape may pour water over the hands. Rabbi Yossi.
So that's an important thing over there, is that you don't actually need a das adam to pour water over somebody's hands. You could train a monkey to do it.
Rabbi Yossi invalidates the Natila in the last of these two cases. If one washes hands with a single rinse, his hand is tahor. But as it regards two hands with a single rinse, Reb Meir rules them tameh until he washes them with a revius of water. If a loaf of truma fell into the water, it is tahor, and Rabbi Yossi rules. Rabbi Yossi rules it tameh. Okay.
Do one more because we started one early. We did
All
one
right.
from yesterday.
If one poured the first waters in one place and the second waters in a different place, and a loaf of truma fell, it is fell into the first waters, it's tameh. But if it fell into the second waters, it is tahor. If he poured the first and second waters in one place and a loaf of truma fell there, it is tameh. If he poured the first waters and the splinters of gravel was found on his hands are tameh. Because the last waters purify only the waters that were on the hand, Reb Shimon ben Gamil says, regarding any organism that originates in the water, it's tahor. Okay.
Kalim, Chaftes Hay.
The cord of the balance of store owners and that of householders, its measure is one handbreadth. The handle of a hatchet in front, its measure is one handbreadth. The remnant of a compass handle, its measure is one handbreadth. The handle of a chisel used by stone engravers, its measure is one handbreadth. The cord of a wool dealer's balance and that of glass weighers, their measure is two handbreadths. The handle of a millstone chisel, its measure is two handbreadths. The handle of a mace, its measure is two handbreadths. And the handle of a goldsmith's hammer, its measure is two handbreadths. That of a blacksmith, its measure is three handbreadths. The remnants of a prod from above, its measure is four handbreadths. And the handle of a spade, its measure is four handbreadths. The handle of a mattock for pounding, its measure is five handbreadths. And the handle of a small hammer, its measure is five handbreadths. And that of a hammer is six handbreadths. The handle of an axe for splitting wood and for hoeing, its measure is six handbreadths, and the handle of a stonemason's chisel, its measure is six handbreadths. The
Yeah,
remnants of the
that's
plate.
it. We're done.
Is that it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Keep going.
Okay.
All right. Sheviis.
Shavuos.
Okay.
Okay, Bavches.
Yes.
Yeah.
The following must swear, although no claim is large. Partners, sharecroppers, administrators, the wife who manages the affairs of the house, and the son of the house. If he said to him, "What claim do you lodge against me?" and he replied, "I want you to swear to me," he is liable. Once
In
a
all these
partner,
cases, he doesn't have to bring any time. He doesn't have to bring any reason that why I suspect you. I just want you to take an oath because I feel like it. Because
yeah,
you're permanently working with my money, so I have the right now to make you swear at any given time that you haven't been cooking the books.
once the partners of the sharecroppers divided, he cannot make him swear. If an oath was imposed upon him from elsewhere, they impose upon him an oath for the entire claim, and the Shemitah releases one from an oath.
So once it's something that would have been cancelled anyway by Shemitah, now that we're learning
Right.
this today, it's then he can't make you take an oath on it. Okay.
There are four types of shomerim: the unpaid shomer, the borrower, the paid shomer, and the renter. The unpaid shomer swears for everything. The borrower pays for everything. The paid shomer and the renter swear concerning an animal that broke a limb, an animal that was captured, and an animal that died, but they pay for loss or theft. If
So
one said,
if they're gonna pay anyway, there's no need to make them swear. But if they're making a taina that they didn't steal it or that it was where they wouldn't have to pay, then the owner can
make a vote.
say take an oath that you didn't steal it or that you didn't that you weren't negligent.
If one said to an unpaid shomer, "Where is my bull?" and he replied, "It died," whereas in fact it broke a limb, was captured, stolen, or lost, and he replied, "It broke a limb," whereas in fact it died, was captured, stolen, or lost, or he replied, "It was captured," whereas in fact it died, broke a limb, or was stolen or lost, and he replied, "It was stolen," whereas in fact it died, broke a limb, was captured, and lost, and he replied, "It was lost," whereas in fact it died, it broke a limb, was captured, stolen, and he said to him, "I adore you," and he replied, "Amen." He's exempt.
Right? He's exempt because even though he's lying, it didn't change his chiyuv.
Uh,
He's a shamer chinam in any case, so he doesn't have to pay. So even though he lied about the exact cause of the loss, even if he told the truth, he would have been pater. So therefore, he doesn't have to pay anything for the false oath. Okay,
all right. Tanis.
Tanis Gimel Zion.
Every time I hear that word Tanis, I always think of the Egyptians and their whole You ever see those movies years ago? You know. In
Mm.
those cases, we cry out even on Shabbos. If a city is surrounded by hostile Gentiles, or by a flooding river, or if a ship is storm tossed at sea, Reb Yossi says we may call upon it the people who assemble for assistance, but not for supplication. Shimon the Timonite said also concerning pestilence, but the Chachamim did not agree with him. For every calamity that may befall the community, we sound the shofar concerning them, except for excessive rain. It once happened that the people said to Choni Hamagel, "Pray that rain should fall." And he said to them, "Go and bring into the ovens used for roasting the Pesach sacrifices, lest they dissolve because of the rain." He prayed, but no rain fell. What did he do? He drew a circle and stood within it and said before him, "Master of the universe, your children have turned to me because I am like a member of your household. I swear by your great name that I shall not move from here until you have mercy on your children." Rain began to trickle. He said, "Not for such rain have I prayed, but for rain that will fill the water holes, ditches, and caves." Rain began to fall with a vengeance. And he fulfills, I'm sorry, let's skip the page here. And he said, "Not for this have I prayed, but for the rain of goodwill, blessing, and grace." The rain fell normally until the Jews left Jerusalem for the Temple Mount in the face of the rain. They came and said to him, "Just as you prayed for them to fall, pray for them to cease." He said to them, "Go out and see whether the stone of the strayers has been washed away." Shimon ben Shetek sent him a message saying, "Where were you not Choni, I would pronounce a ban upon you. But what can I do to you, since you are a favorite child before the omnipresent? And he fulfills your wishes as a son who makes himself like a young child before his father, and he fulfills his wishes, his wish. Concerning people like you, Scripture says, "May your father and mother be glad, and she bore you, and she who bore you rejoice."
The whole point of the story was just to say that you don't pray for rain to stop.
Right. Right. Okay. Um,
One more, yeah.
If you had been fasting and rain began to fall before sunrise, they need not complete the fast. If rain began to fall after sunrise, they must complete the fast. Reb Eliezer said, if it began to rain before midday, and they need not complete the fast, but if the rain began after midday, they must complete the fast. It once happened that a fast was decreed in Lod, and rain fell before midday. Reb Tarfon said to them, "Go out, eat, drink, proclaim a holiday." And they went out, ate, drank, and proclaimed a holiday. In the afternoon, they returned to the synagogue and recited the great Hallel.
Okay,
Okay,
that can, and I must go.
great. Have a great
Okay,
Shabbos. Enjoy.
thank you very much. You too.
Okay. Okay. I'll see you, Mr.
Okay,
Shem, on Sunday. Okay.
okay. Have a good Shabbat.